Good Saturday morning to everyone out there. In this video on North Central Weather Center this morning, we'll be talking about building heat across the north central states, followed by storm chances later next week into next weekend, which could include the threat for heavy rainfall and severe weather. We'll get to that later in today's video. But overall, the weather pattern this weekend will be for the ridge of high pressure to be centered across the Four Corners region. So for our north central states, that will mean the northwest flow will continue through this weekend. Now, it will be warming up as we go deeper into the weekend on Saturday night and especially getting into Sunday. And you can see the temperatures today. It will be warm. We'll see temperatures in the middle to upper 80s from the Dakotas down across our southernmost areas, getting into the low 90s across Nebraska and into Kansas here. Further east, though, we still have the northwest flow aloft, so we have more of the upper 70s to mid 80s from the Chicago lakefront there up through Green Bay, even over to Detroit and the Twin Cities as we go through this afternoon. Going into tonight, though, we still, like I said, have the northwest flow aloft, so crack open the windows. Temperatures will be down into the middle and upper 50s here, some low 60s out there. Very pleasant night overnight for your Saturday out there. And then as we go into Sunday, that ridge access starts to build a little bit further into the upper Midwest here. So we're going to start to feel the heat, especially into the western Dakotas, down into Nebraska and Kansas here with the middle 90s, possibly even some upper 90s in spots as well. And then we'll start to see more mid 80s starting to trend further east toward the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley region as we go into Sunday. And looking at the precipitation trends to time out the weekend for you guys, this morning we have a couple showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. The coverage is very isolated here from Minnesota all the way down toward the Kansas City region. Not everybody will see a shower or storm, and honestly, across the north central states, the coverage is about 10% of us, so we're really not seeing that much precipitation. Getting into the afternoon, though, peak daytime heating, you know it's summertime, so we're going to start to see more scattered activity. These could put down some locally heavy downpours, some small hail, and perhaps some isolated 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Not too concerned about a severe weather threat up here, but just watch out for those downpours here and some locally stronger storms at times during the afternoon hours. Again, not everybody will see the storms. Then as we go into the evening, the trend will be for the coverage to be more further south into Iowa, Wisconsin, and into northern Illinois, as we could be seeing some widely scattered thunderstorms. Again, not everybody will see them, but locally heavy downpours, small hail, and 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts will be the name of the game across the Midwest going into this evening. Then as we go into Sunday morning, any church services out there, it should be a-okay for the most part across the north central states here, outside of a shower chance or two across the Dakotas, northern Minnesota, or a thunderstorm down here potentially into the Illinois Valley. Other than that, very dry going into your Sunday morning time frame and even Sunday afternoon. So any outdoor plans you have for Sunday should be good for the most part. Just watch out for that pop-up shower or storm. You know, it's summertime again, so Sunday afternoon we could see another shower storm pop up around the Detroit area, Indianapolis, downstate Illinois, or perhaps into portions of the the state of Iowa here as well, going into Sunday afternoon time frame. Overall, though, the rainfall should be pretty sporadic across the upper Midwest, down here into the Central Plains and then east to the Great Lakes. Locally heavy rainfall will be possible if you get under one of those thunderstorms quickly, up to a quarter or half an inch of rain, but it will be hard pressed to get much more than a half an inch of rain through this weekend. So not seeing a lot of rain and not seeing it for everybody. So just know that going into the weekend. And then starting next week on Monday, the ridge starts to begin to move even further to the northeast. I want you to pay attention to this red outline here and on southwestward. Wherever this red starts to show up, that's where the extreme heat is really going to start to build here. So you see it's across portions of the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, down into the Missouri Valley, and even into Kansas with the maroon red showing up on Monday. And then watch that red line. It goes all the way up into the upper Great Lakes and the upper Midwest on Wednesday during the middle of the week, and then perhaps gets even closer to the international border between the Canadian provinces and our upper Midwest as we go into Friday later next week on July 28th. So looking at the temperatures step by step through next week, on Monday, we see the heat building across portions of the upper Midwest. Midwest. We still see some 90s out here from time to time, but the real heat will begin to build across South Dakota, Nebraska, down into Kansas, and even parts of western Missouri. We're going to be well into the 90s, if not around 100 degrees, as depicted into the Wichita and Topeka region as we go into Monday. And then look at Wednesday. That red area will go all the way up, remember, into the upper Great Lakes here and toward the upper Midwest. So more the middle to upper 90s will be likely. This does include Chicago. This does include the Twin Cities region, Des Moines, and back toward the Omaha area, and even St. Louis closing in on 100 degrees as we go into Wednesday. The lakefront could remain a little bit cooler there from Green Bay down to Chicago, but if you go inland, it will be much warmer on Wednesday. And then as we go into Friday, you start to see a cool down, a nice, refreshing cool down across the upper Midwest, perhaps with the heat building further to the south. The Ohio Valley will be stifling hot into the middle and upper 90s, and the Central Plains as well. So we're going to be seeing the heat down there. Well, why do we see the cooler temperatures to the north? Well, that's a great question. We'll answer that in just a moment. But looking at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook through August 4th, the opening days of August, it does look like the trend is for the heat to build again across our southernmost regions, especially into the Central Plains and the lower Ohio River Valley, with still heat continuing across the upper Midwest and parts of the Great Lakes region, but maybe not as extreme as we push into early August. And why is that? Why is it not as extreme across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes? Well, we have a couple shortwave troughs trying to move across the southern Canadian provinces over top of that ridge axis here with the northwest flow. So you see one of those moving across portions of Saskatchewan into southern Manitoba and perhaps Montana as we go into Wednesday. And then during the late week time frame, this may bring a trailing cold front through the upper Midwest by that Thursday night, and even into Friday morning time frame, providing us with our first real chance of organized showers and storms. That could come with heavy rain and severe weather. We'll keep an eye on that. But you see, next in the parade of shortwave is back here into British Columbia and southern Alberta. That's where we'll see another shortwave try to develop here and move over top of that ridge as we go into next weekend, providing us with even more additional chances for showers and storms by next Saturday into Sunday. So it will be an active pattern as we get through later next week and next weekend. So it will start off dry, very hot for the upper Midwest, but then trend wetter and a little bit cooler as well with the cloud cover and the showers and storms up here. I think the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, parts of northern Nebraska, much of Iowa, northern Illinois, and then eastward, especially into Michigan here and parts of the northern Ohio Valley, we could start to see more active weather with showers and storms repeatedly through later next week and next weekend. This could lead to chances for heavy rain and severe weather. We will have to keep an eye on that as we go through next weekend, but it will trend drier for our southern locales across portions of Kansas, the Ozarks down here into Missouri and Kentucky as we go through that next weekend time frame. So we'll be a little bit drier in those areas compared to normal. And looking at the model forecast for rainfall, it does show some robust rains across portions of the Midwest here into parts of the Ohio Valley and portions even of the northern plains on the European forecast model for later next week into next weekend. So we're talking Wednesday onward. We're going to continue to watch this, but definitely seeing some inches of rain starting to develop on the European model. The GFS model is a little bit further north, but basically implies the same thing with a couple inches of rain in a widespread area. And the GDPS model, or the Canadian model, is again showing a couple inches of rain across the Midwest into the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region during later next week into next weekend. So that's great news to see, because we do have drought continuing to persist across our zones here into the upper Midwest, the Central Plains especially, with the extreme and severe drought. And we're not really too much into drought in the Ohio Valley. We're abnormally dry with pockets of moderate drought. We could still use the rain any way possible, but definitely this will be eating away at the drought. So that is some good news moving forward as well. Well, looking here at the U.S. monthly drought outlook, it does look like drought removal is likely for many of us across portions of the Central Plains into the lower Midwest and the Ohio Valley through the rest of July. And that's compliments of that precipitation coming in over the next several days, especially later next week into next weekend. The drought will persist a little bit longer, especially because it's a little bit more severe and extreme up here into Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, and northern lower Michigan, even parts of Minnesota. But I promise you, with the rains coming in, if it's further to the north than it is expected here, we could start to eat away at that drought as we get even into early August. So we'll continue to monitor that going forward as well. Well, if you like detailed weather breakdowns across the north central United States, this is the channel for you. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's free to do, and you get daily updates on this channel as well. And be sure to press the thumbs up button down below if you enjoyed today's content. I do appreciate all the likes, and it helps to give more of this information to more and more people. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I'll see you all in the next video.